17 members and associates of the Hells Angels are facing criminal charges in a violent attack.
Federal agents allege the outlaws sold drugs, traded firearms, and engaged in insurance fraud and even tampered with government witnesses.
We have learned there is cell phone video as well as surveillance video of evidence in this attack.
The U.S. attorney characterized today's raids as historic, the largest federal bust on organized criminal gang activity.
Retaliation is common for crimes involving biker gangs. However, it could happen anywhere because of how interconnected gangs have become nationwide.
The 3-year investigation resulted in 42 federal indictments on a variety of charges, including racketeering, money laundering, drugs, gambling, insurance fraud, and extortion.
There's a bunch of bikers up here, and they're shooting guns and stuff. I need the police now.
But on foot going towards 2nd Street. Okay, receive.
Welcome to this episode of Chattin with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today we're going to talk about William Queen infiltrating the Mongols MC. Before we get started, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. We got a lot of great things going on right now. If you guys don't know, we've been working hard behind the scenes, making things happen. I got some major interviews dropping. Tonight, matter of fact, at 10 o'clock is Josh's interview. And then we got a whole bunch lined up for the whole week. Hey, Joe Blunts, what's going on? How are you? Thanks for joining me. Hungover Closer, what's good? I'm in a meeting, but I'm watching without sound, my guy. Shout out to you, man. Can't hold me down. What's going on? Thanks for joining me today. Lindsay, what's good? Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate everyone that takes the time to watch this show. Today, we're talking about William Queen. So if you guys don't know who that is, he's the ATF agent who infiltrated the Mongols MC. And I'm pretty sure he became a full patch member in the club. Crazy that he was able to do that. There's him with his cut on. Matter of fact, he was a full patch member in the club. How he was able to do that, no one knows. We're going to get into his story. I got some videos to play. And on other news, before we get to that, there was a settlement with the members of the Pagans motorcycle club that got into that altercation at a bar where the cops really did a number on them. The police ended up settling for $170,000. If you guys haven't heard about that, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, it says couple of lawsuits settled in the Pagans and the cops brawl. Shout out to Biker Trash Network, Pittsburgh, PA, January 9th, 2025. The city of Pittsburgh will pay over $170,000 to settle 2 of the 4 lawsuits from the brawl at Kopi's Bar 6 years ago between members of the Pagans Motorcycle Club and several drunk undercover police officers. So it says the lawsuit included allegations of malicious prosecution and assault and battery, as well as civil rights claims based on the city's alcohol policy that allows undercover officers to drink while on the job. The incident began around 12:30 a.m. on October 12, 2018. Earlier that night, 4 undercover Pittsburgh police officers investigating drug activity entered the Kopi's Bar, identified themselves as construction workers, and began drinking. 4 members of the Pagans MC arrived about 11:30 p.m. Within an hour, the brawl had erupted and the 4 Pagan MC members were arrested. The 4 Pagan MC members were charged with aggravated assault, conspiracy, and riot. The undercover officers were supposedly investigating a complaint at Kobe's bar the night of the brawl. According to the city's lawyers, the officers knew that the Pagans MC members to carry weapons, and they believed that their undercover status had been compromised by the 4 bikers, according to an affidavit by Stephen Kopi, the now deceased owner of the bar. The officers told him that night that they had issues with the Pagans MC. I was then asked by one of the undercover officers whether I was siding with the bikers, Kopi wrote in an affidavit. I told them that I was not siding with the bikers. I just did not agree with the undercover officers that the bikers were trying to cause trouble. As the Pagans MC members got up to leave and continued, the officers stopped them and spoke with them. But his lawsuit said that the officers, who were visibly intoxicated, impeded his exit from the bar. He was repeatedly showing him a loaded handgun in the front band of his pants, not revealing that he or any of the other police officers. About a month later, the criminal charges were dropped in Allegheny County District Court. The officers were ultimately suspended for 5 days without pay and resigned. Crazy. It's crazy that the cops were like sloshed, shit-faced drunk when this whole incident took place. And of course, who are they going to side with? They're going to side with the cops. They're not going to take the bikers' word for it or nothing like that. Hey, Puff Puff Pass, what's going on? Thank you for joining. Appreciate you. Slayer, how are you? Good morning. Joe, what's up? Thank you for joining me this morning. Well, this afternoon. So today we are talking about this guy, William Queen. Billy Queen, former baseball player, William Billy Queen Jr., as a retired undercover agent with the U.S. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives. He is the author of books now, Under and Alone and Armed and Dangerous. Queen was raised in North Carolina, the son of an ATF agent. He served as Special Forces soldier in the United States Army during the Vietnam War. After his discharge in the Army, he worked as a police officer in North Carolina for 6 years. He became an agent for the United States Border Patrol, serving 2 years before subsequently joining the ATF. Early operations involved infiltrating the Aryan Nation, the Ku Klux Klan, 2 white supremacist organizations. He also served as ATF Special Response Team, federal equivalent to SWAT team. So this story gets pretty crazy. In early 1998, as part of Operation to Infiltrate Motorcycle Gangs, Queen joined the San Fernando Valley chapter of the Mongols Motorcycle Club as Billy St. John and was a member for 28 months, despite his nickname, Billy the Slow Brain. Was successful within the ranks of the bikers, even holding a position as treasurer and secretary of the chapter vice president, based on the evidence that he gathered while in these positions. A series of raids on May 19, 2000 by almost 700 lawmen in 4 states led to the arrest and indictments of 54 gang members. 53 were convicted. 1 took the fall for a brother, and also the second party's charges were dropped. The ATF later described Queen's time undercover as the most successful biker gang penetration. Queen was awarded the Federal Bar Association's Medal of Honor for his successful involvement in the Mongols. After the trials of the members, Queen retired from the ATF and wrote a book, Under and Alone, the true story of an undercover agent who infiltrated America's most violent outlaw motorcycle gang in 2003. While it was still only a draft, film rights to the book were sold to Icon, a film production company owned by Mel Gibson. The book became a bestseller upon its release in 2005. Queen also was featured in 2008 Outlaw Bikers series on National Geographic about federal agents infiltrating the biker clubs. So we're gonna watch a little video. So let's check it out. Hit the like button.
Grew up in Greensboro and got his first. Billy Queen grew up in Greensboro and got his first job as a High Point police officer in the early 70s. A nice job, but it wasn't the ATF. So Billy updated his look, got that job with alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, and went where he could find plenty of all three: the world of outlaw motorcycle gangs.
No one before me, and even after me, no one has ever been inside an outlaw motorcycle gang for 2 years like that. Nobody.
In March of 1998, Billy left his family behind and went to see what he could find out about the East Los Angeles Mongols.
Like we own California! Yeah!
They were widely considered the most criminal and vicious of all the gangs.
I hadn't been in prison with them. I didn't grow up with them. One day I showed up.
And the gang...
For him to just show up there and work his way into that club is insane. Like, how is that even possible? They obviously didn't do a good background check on him.
Quickly took a liking to Billy.
Or his background was so good. I mean, look, he was a prospect. He became a full member and started holding rank. Insane. We appreciate you, Staxx. Thank you. I appreciate you, man.
Asked him to become a prospect, apply to be a member, so to speak. A process the gang took seriously. He had to fill out this application, telling the gang where he went to school, where he worked, friends and family he might have in law enforcement, even a criminal history.
I wonder what his prospect career looked like. Like, did he have to break the law in order to join the club? Did he skate the edges of the law? I bet you he did. He just doesn't tell everything he did. I believe that. Just like what's his name? The guy that infiltrated the Pagans. The one that wrote the book and straight lied in it.
The gang then had a
Wedge. What was his name? I'll find his name.
Private detective. Check it all out. The ATF placed agents at Billy's schools in Guilford County to back up his stories. He was about to become a Mongol if he could pass one last test. Could he handle a gun?
No, he didn't. I interviewed Jay Dobbins. Go look at the interview I did with him. I'm talking about the guy that infiltrated the Pagans. Jay Dobbins infiltrated the Hells Angels, but he didn't. I'm talking about David Wedge. The guy David Wedge wrote the book on. If you guys haven't seen the interview I did with Jay Dobbins, go check it out. It's on the channel.
The classroom was a secluded orange grove north of Los Angeles.
They semicircled me. They all got their guns out, loaded their guns up. These guys were drinking beer.
Ken Croak. His name is Ken Croak. Ken Coke. Ken Coke is one of the lying, dirty ATF agent, former ATF agent that there are on this earth. He is a straight up trash bag. That's who I'm thinking of, Ken Croak.
I knew they were high.
One gang member suspected that Billy was a cop.
The National Sergeant at Arms came up to me, stood in my face, and he started hollering at me. how long was your academy, Billy? And I looked at him and I was stunned. And then finally he looked at me in the eye and he said, so if I put a bullet in the back of your head, nobody's gonna know where to start looking for you, huh? And I said, yeah, you're right. The only thing that I can do, I just bluffed them as far as I could bluff them. And if they had made me, they knew that I was a cop, they were gonna shoot me in the back in that field. There was nothing I could do about it.
Miraculously, Billy escaped that and the time another guy tried to kill him with this knife.
During the investigation, when I wanted to say, we got enough, I've had enough, something else would occur. They'd kill somebody, or they'd rob someplace, or there'd be a big drug deal that was coming down. And so I'd push it for
Yeah, and he was involved with all of it. So don't let these guys fool you. They were involved with everything that was going on with the club. It wasn't like they were sitting back, not doing anything. These guys committed crimes just like the people they were investigating. This is the guy I was talking about, Ken Crow, the one that infiltrated the Pagans. That's him on the left. Biggest douchebag out there. Straight liar. Ken Croak. He's a coward too. He won't come on and have a conversation with Carrie about the lies he put in the book about her father. It's really a trashy move for him to do.
Another 2 weeks.
And 2 weeks melted into 2 years. Billy earned all the rings and even became vice president of his 350-member Mongols chapter. With the help of surveillance tape like this one, showing the Mongols doing a drug deal at the funeral of one of their own, Billy put 53 Mongols in jail for everything from drug trafficking to murder. A wild ride that Billy turned into a book called Under and Alone. Mel Gibson liked the story so much, he turned it into a movie script that Gibson plans to star in as Billy. The book and movie have given Billy a little financial security. After 2 years with the Mongols, Billy lost any physical security he may have had.
I'll have to look over my shoulder for the rest of my life. If I had it to do over again, yeah, I wouldn't have done it. It needed to be done, but it didn't need to be done by somebody that had a family.
We begin tonight with a harrowing tale that would keep you on the edge of your seat.
All right, so that was a separate one. This is a whole different one. So I found a link for the one with Jay Dobbins if you guys ever want to check this out. Here's the link for the one I did with Jay Dobbins.
It is the exclusive story of an undercover agent who gave up his identity and everything he loved to infiltrate what authorities say is one of the most violent motorcycle gangs in America.
But there is people have said he did not ever get a patch. People that are saying that he never got fully patched in, never happened. I talked to people that were privy to this whole situation, and they said he never got a patch. Thanks, Staxx. I will watch this when it's over. Appreciate that. No problem, Corey. Thanks for watching.
For 2 years, he lived a gut-wrenching double life, riding with men he believed would murder him if they found out who he really was. He became one of them. He had to. But what would he be like when it was time to go home? So when we come back, John Miller with an agent's tale of a dangerous world no outsider has ever seen.
I met the man who called himself Billy St. John in a fancy hotel bar out in California. It was the night he'd come off his longest undercover operation. I remember he looked strangely out of place there, long hair and his leather jacket. I also remember he had that look. I'd seen it in the faces of other agents who'd gone deep undercover. He looked tired, like he couldn't believe it was finally over. There he was, in L.A., a town full of actors. A guy who had just played the role of his life and lived to tell about it.
And I'm going to show you something even crazier. You want to see something even crazier? He still got the cut. And he's still going around with it. You believe that? He still has the cut, and he still goes around with it. It's like a trophy to him or something. That's crazy. You know, he does speeches and all this stuff all over the country. That's insane that he brings that cut around with him.
For Billy St. John, it had been some ride. It was an amazing sight.
Does it look like they're going towards the 805 or the 15?
Even the federal agents taking these surveillance pictures were surprised.
Oh, wow. Jeez, look at this. This is awesome.
The ATF agents were tracking what they say is one of the most violent motorcycle gangs in the country.
See, you hear the cops say, this is awesome. They want to play like they're in their own little world, like they want to play biker. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
The Mongols.
Mark,
are
what's
also
up?
Keeping track of someone else.
There's our guy right there, right? In the back.
Our guy, as they refer to him, is not just another biker. He is ATF Special Agent Bill Queen, working undercover inside the Mongols to gather evidence of alleged drug dealing, extortion, and murder. This case would become the longest and most dangerous operation inside an outlaw motorcycle gang in the history of ATF.
There he is. See him? Yeah.
Known to the Mongols as Billy St. John, Agent Queen would spend more than 2 years living a double life. He had to change the way he looked, the way he dressed. He had to be convincing. But this is what Special Agent Queen will look like on the witness stand when he talks about the violent life of a Mongol.
They are unlike any other motorcycle club that I have ever seen. They say, respect few, fear none. I mean, they live by it. They respected few, to include the police.
See, he looks totally different, doesn't he? From when he was infiltrating the club. He looks like a totally different person. It's crazy that he got that far to become an officer in the club. And this is what he looks like normally. He still has the cut. He goes around with it. Parades around with the cut. I believe it's the same one. This is the same one. That's crazy. Insane.
And they feared none, to include the police.
From a secret location, Queen agreed to talk exclusively to 2020 about
See the
his
cut in the
dangerous double
background?
life, an incredible journey that kept him on edge for more than 2 years, a journey that is still far from over.
If I had this whole thing to do over again, I wouldn't do it.
ATF, or the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, is the federal agency with jurisdiction over crimes involving guns and bombs. Two key weapons, the ATF says, in a 17-year war between the Mongols and the Hells Angels for control of turf in California. What are these motorcycle gangs about? Is it about the lifestyle? Are they for profit?
They're not for profit. They don't have a common goal. It's a camaraderie thing. It's a machismo thing. It's being top of the heap.
Of course, listen, when people are in a club, they're going to want to be the top of the heat. He just said they have nothing. It's not about anything. But then he goes, it's a camaraderie thing. Listen, that's the major thing it is. But obviously, you're a police officer. You're a cop. So you're not going to really have anything in common with these people. You played a biker. That's what you did. You played a biker. You are not one. You pretended to be a biker, but you're not one. You're a cop. Like, these people want their own perspective on what's going on, but he pretended to be a biker. He's not one. He obviously blended in pretty damn good if he was able to become the vice president.
In a mountain for them.
Billy Queen is a cop through and through, a second-generation ATF agent whose father chased moonshiners through the South. If they discover a cop among them, what are they supposed to do?
Have him on tape saying he'll have to die. There's a cop there, he'll have to die. There's too many people got too much to lose.
And that would have been you.
That would have been me.
No undercover agent had ever successfully penetrated the Mongols. Just to be considered for membership, Billy St. John had to fill out a detailed application, a complete biography that the Mongols turned over to a private investigator.
We weren't completely prepared for that. But there were school records and phone numbers to get in touch with relatives, and we were setting up phones in different states.
And setting up people to play the part of fictitious relatives.
Right.
And so began Queen's double life. When you were undercover, what did they think you did for a living?
They thought that I bought and sold avionics equipment.
An undercover apartment was set up for Billy, wired for videotape and sound, so weekly Mongols meetings could be taped.
I think I'm all right.
And while ATF agents always tried to cover their agent with backups, there were many places that Queen's backup team just couldn't follow. Like the time Billy says the Mongols drove him down a desolate dirt road to an orange grove for his first target practice with the gang.
And listen, I just interviewed a guy who went undercover with the Mafia and the Hells Angels up in Canada, and he told me some wild stories. That interview is dropping later on in the week. Paul Manning, insane story. That one's a really good one.
So you're on your own.
So I'm on my Mongols got out, started loading up firearms. After they loaded them up, they kind of semi-circled me, and they're all looking at me, and National Sergeant at Arms comes up to me, and he just says abruptly, "Hey, Billy, how long was your academy?"
Yo!
Shook it off. What are you talking about? How long was the academy? And I kept shaking him off, and he kept getting louder. "Tell us how long the academy was, Billy."
Police academy.
Police academy.
What's going through your mind now? You're thinking, did they make the tale? Do they know who I am?
Yeah. So the guy looks at me and says, "So if I put a bullet in the back of your head, nobody's going to know where to start looking for you." And I said, "You're right." And then the guy turned and said, "Okay, Billy, turn around, go out there and set up the targets."
You're walking out into the field.
And I thought, this is all you can do. You bluff them as far as you can bluff them. And if they've made you, they're going to kill you. But I walked out into the field, set up a few targets, and came back and they didn't shoot.
Billy Queen survived the initial vetting, but then there was the matter of street credibility. He says now that he was in, he had to stand and fight with the Mongols against other bikers. And sometimes, he says, he was literally in a fight for his life.
You know damn well that this dude crossed the line many a times, but he's not going to talk about those times. He's not going to tell you when he committed crimes in order to put these people in prison, because that's what they do. Like, that's what they do. Aren't the Mongols mainly Hispanic, Latinos? No, there's white Mongols, 100%. Hey, Big Boy Blue, what's going on? Calvin, how are you? Thanks for joining us. Most of them will never admit to breaking the law. 100%. Wait till you see the guy that I interviewed that infiltrated the Hells Angels and the Mafia up in Canada. Insane story. I'm going to play you some clips after this is over.
He swiped this knife across my jacket in the front, and he came after me with everything that he was worth, swinging this knife at me. And he backed me all the way out into the parking lot really quick.
He's not trying to cut me.
He's not trying to cut me. He's trying to run that knife through me. So at that point, I hollered for the chapter sergeant at arms to shoot him. And he would have actually been saving my life. And he hollers at him. And the guy looks at him and he stops.
I gotta ask you this. Your mind is working a mile a minute. You're thinking, I gotta remember, I'm an ATF agent. I'm undercover. I'm telling this guy to shoot him. Were you able to sort that out in your head, like, this is okay or not okay?
It doesn't make any difference whether it's okay or what policy says or this, that, and the other. I'm not going to let this guy kill me.
You hear this guy? He said, basically, he broke the law. And he's not going to tell you about it. But he was telling another member to shoot another member. And he doesn't care that he had to break the law. That's insane. Listen close to what he says.
And he would have actually been saving my life. And he hollers at him. And the guy looks at him and he stops.
I gotta ask you this. Your mind is working a mile a minute. You're thinking, I gotta remember, I'm an ATF agent. I'm undercover. I'm telling this guy to shoot him. Were you able to sort that out in your head, like, this is okay or not okay?
It doesn't make any difference whether it's okay or
doesn't matter.
What policy says or this, that, and the other. I'm not going to let this guy kill me.
As he gained acceptance by the Mongols, Billy says he began to make his case, gathering information on gang members' sales of drugs and guns, and learning the names of Mongols allegedly involved in unsolved murders, and receiving coded messages on his beeper from the gang's own alert system.
You got a 66 that was like, come right away, come locked and loaded. We're about to do something ugly.
And many times, he says, he had to be ready to make tough calls.
There had been times where I paced back and forth, thinking to myself, oh my God, what am I going to do? Because they had plans to rape women. And they had plans to murder people. And I was prepared a few times to stop it, if I could. But we lucked out time and time again.
Billy said,
yeah, because he was crossing the line. You don't think he was doing drugs with these people? You don't think he was, man, he was definitely crossing the line. Maureen, how are you? 100%. He was definitely crossing the line. Yeah, like how are they going to infiltrate any of these clubs now? Like with the internet and with information so easily accessible, you know how hard it would be for them to try to infiltrate any of these clubs? Hey, Spider, what's up? What's good? Thanks for joining me.
Says one of the things that startled him was how the Mongols treated women and how some women let them. Some Mongol women wore labels proclaiming they were property of an individual. Others were property of the gang.
If you were that female, you'd do whatever any Mongol wanted you to do.
And to Billy, the gang's degrading attitudes were often the least of it.
I sewed a girl up one morning after she had taken a beating from her Mongol man. And he had hit her in the face and had actually split her lip through and through, almost all the way up to her nose.
Well, he shouldn't have had to tell her twice. You know this dude was definitely breaking the law when he was doing all these operations. 100%. They don't tell you about all that. They don't tell you about all the drugs they did. They don't tell you about all the late nights or whatever they had going on. And a lot of times, these agents will entrap people. They'll bring the money to facilitate the drug deal. They'll get these people involved with something that they wouldn't be involved in if he hadn't brung it to the table. And that's the fact.
The more I talked to Billy, the more I wondered. 26 months of riding, drinking, and brawling with a feared biker gang, how far had he drifted from being Special Agent Bill Queen? How did he avoid becoming the person he was playing?
And this dude's wearing a Mongol hat while he's fishing. And the guy interviewing him just explained it perfect. How far had he drifted playing this biker club member, because he was playing a role. He wasn't one of them. So how many times did he cross the line to play this role? Because you know he did. You know he crossed the line.
Property of an individual. Others were property of the gang.
If you were that female, you'd do whatever any Mongol wanted you to do.
And to Billy, the gang's degrading attitudes were often the least of it.
I sewed a girl up one morning after she had taken a beating from her Mongol man. And he had hit her in the face and had actually split her lip through and through, almost all the way up to her nose.
The more I talked to Billy, the more I wondered. 26 months of riding, drinking, and brawling with a
many times did you break the law, Billy?
Feared biker gang, how far had he drifted from being Special Agent Bill Queen? How did he avoid becoming the person he was playing?
Did you like any of them?
Sure.
This dude's wearing a Mongol hat while he's fishing. Like, what the... Insane. I like don't even have words for it. And he travels around. He travels around with the cut that he earned while he was in the club. Like, that's crazy.
I had gotten to the point after a certain period of time where I had downtime. And rather than call up ATF agents and say, let's go drink a beer.
Thank you, Spider. Appreciate it.
I found myself getting on a bike and riding up and hooking up with Mongols and running with them.
Listen, I'm trying to show the world that these club members are just regular people. And people like this guy, they invoke crime. Like, they probably wouldn't have been involved with any of the shit they got arrested for if it wasn't for him bringing it to the table. It's crazy. And thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to keep bringing the content.
It was getting confusing.
Billy St. John had become an accepted member of the Mongols, but the time it took to gain that trust cost him. He had a family. It was hard to see them, and when he could sneak away to attend his kids' school events, he had to worry about how he looked.
My kids didn't want to go up to anybody and say, that's my dad. I gave up in 2 years and 2 months, almost every holiday, all my weekends, the baseball games, the soccer games, I gave it all.
So was it worth it? Throw away your whole family for the ATF? It's not worth it, Billy. Come on, Billy. Was it worth it to throw your whole family away for the ATF, for a pin? Was it worth it to you?
After 26 months, the operation was winding down. We were with Queen as he packed up at his house, and the man known to the Mongols as Billy St. John simply vanished. 2 days later, at dawn, hundreds of ATF agents and LA County Sheriff's deputies swarmed out across Southern California, making 40 arrests. Based on the information supplied by Billy, the ATF got search warrants and say they recovered guns, drugs, and a cache of stolen motorcycles. Today, Agent Queen is living in a safe house, staying out of sight, using a new identity.
Wearing a support your local Mongols hat. Make it make sense. Kev, how are you?
And it is far from over. Some of those charged have pled guilty, and one has been acquitted. But lawyers for others who pled not guilty have already challenged Agent Queen's credibility and his account of what he did and what he saw. But until he testifies in court, Special Agent Billy Queen is laying low.
You think they'll come for you?
No doubt. I have no doubt. I think back, I just wonder who it's
I'm
going to
doing
be.
great, Kev.
Agent Bill Queen has now been relocated.
Shut up. So I want to know what your thoughts are. Do you think Bill McQueen crossed the line during his ATF career? And do you think he thinks it was worth it to throw his whole family away for the ATF? Good luck with that one. But anyway, let me show you some clips of the up-and-coming episode for the guy who infiltrated the Hells Angels up in Canada. It's a crazy story. Check.
And it's going to the clubhouse, the Hells Angels clubhouse. So they pull it before the clubhouse, and they find 12 ounces of coke in it or something like that. But the bikers are in, and they come out, and they start to cause running interference. But Lou comes out, and Lou's toasted. He's wasted. He was a big cokehead. He was a big drinker. He's wasted. He starts shoving police officers, and the cops don't want to arrest him because there's 12 bikers there. It turns into an issue, and what's the shove at the end of the day? You know, that's the best you've got. But in his excitement trying to run interference for these two guys that they've already arrested for the 12 ounces, he turned around and shoved the president of the Hells Angels, and they booted him the next day. They booted him the next day. Gone. So when we got to a stage where we were making so many purchases that we were falling behind on the paperwork, and there was a team just for paperwork, there was a suggestion made that I go and infiltrate this particular community, the mafia down on an area called James Street North, which is a Portuguese Italian community, large Portuguese Italian community. And I went, sure, why not? Bring it on.
Did you know about these people before you got involved?
I'd seen Donnie Brasco, and I've watched Goodfellas, but you can't prepare yourself for the reality of that. It was sold to me. There were a couple of problem premises. There was a crack house called the Sandbar, which was a real shithole. It was disgusting. And then there was another facility called Up in Smoke, and it was an establishment where people went in and smoked weed, which at the time was frowned upon, and now it's completely illegal. And we with this, I did demand pictures and some intelligence reports, simply the fact that I started to get suspicious now that perhaps they didn't have the ability for this kind of operation. So what I did was I demanded some intelligence reports and photographs and names and the like, and then I spent maybe 12 hours trolling through these pictures, just picture by picture by picture, not looking at the faces or the hair or the hairline, but just the eyes, Hey, my name's Paul Manning. I'm an undercover police officer. I infiltrated the mafia and the Hells Angels at the same time. Wrote a book about it, 1078, and I'm chatting with Staxx.
Gene Gotti, Tommy the Butcher Patera, you know, the
Tommy Patera, yeah.
Gene Gotti, John Gotti's brother. Like, we was actually real cool because we was always the first ones on the rec yard. You know what I mean? Like to go walk the track. I walk the track and talk to him. And it's like talking to somebody out of a mob movie. You know, it's just like that. He's like, you know, old grumpy motherfucker. I got a kick out of him. He was that's what one thing. So I ended up speaking at that yard for Pollock.
So that one's dropping tonight, the one I just showed you, and the other one is dropping later in the week. Make sure you stick around for those interviews. I got a lot of content dropping. If you guys like this stuff, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. If you want to donate to the show, you can hit up my Cash App at Chattin with Staxx. And if you want to be a guest on Chattin with Staxx, email me at billstaxx2021. And if you like the show, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. And if you don't like the show, too fucking bad. Start your own podcast. And remember, don't be a bitch.
All new at 5, a major organized crime bust. 23 people under arrest now accused of stealing guns and cash.
Today, police revealed 4 organized crime groups are wreaking havoc.
From aggravated robbery to kidnapping, burglary, and more. Let's take a look at this. New pictures from court documents in this case. These are a few of the people who have been charged, and investigators say the money, tens of thousands of dollars, is all stolen.